In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Illustrator to create one of these pumpkins. First of all, you need to go to File, New, and I'm going to title it Pumpkin with my name and number 2 because I already have one made already. The size 800 by 600 is good. Make sure that the color mode is set to RGB. In order to see that, you may have to open up this little advanced tab right here. Then I'll go ahead and click OK. Here's my blank canvas. The first thing that I'm going to do is draw an ellipse. So the ellipse tool is grouped together with the rectangle tool. So click and hold on the rectangle and change it to the ellipse tool. Right now the colors that the ellipse would be is white with a black outline. I don't want an outline, so I'm going to open the outline box and set it to none. And for the color, I'm going to click on this little palette over here and type in my own colors that I have pre-chosen. So 246, 145, and 40. You can also select the colors by moving these sliders around. Either way works fine. Now that I have my color, I'm going to click and drag a nice ellipse to be the middle part of my pumpkin. Great. Now with this selected, I'm going to push Control C and Control B. Then I'm going to use the arrow keys to move it to the side, and if you hover the cursor on the corner of the box, you'll get a bent arrow. Click with the bent arrow and drag slightly to the side to rotate it just a little bit. And I'm going to make this a darker color, 239 and 127 and 37. Great. Now I'm going to do the same thing, Control C, Control B, use the arrow keys on the keyboard, move that over, hover the cursor on the corner and tilt it slightly and change the color of it, tilt it a little bit more, and 229, 113, and 35. Great. Now I think I want this one over a little bit more. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to select these two and not the middle one. So the way I selected it was to click it with the black arrow, which is the selection tool, hold down Shift, and you can select more than one object. So now I'm going to right click and go to Transform, Reflect. And I like to have the preview clicked because sometimes I get confused whether or not I'm supposed to reflect something horizontal or vertical, but now I can tell that vertical is what I want. And instead of clicking OK, make sure that you click Copy. So now I have another copy of those. I'm going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard and I'm going to scoot those over to approximately the same width on the other side of the pumpkin. So there we have all the segments that make the top, the front of the pumpkin. Now I'm going to make the back part. So I'm going to select the first oval, hold down Shift, get the second one, skip the middle one, and then get these two on this side. Now Control C and Control B. With the arrow keys, I'm going to move those up slightly in the background. Then I'm going to select the two from this side by clicking one and holding down Shift and clicking the next one. And then with the arrow keys, I'm going to move it over. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So click one, hold down Shift, click the second one, use the arrow keys, and scoot it over. Now I'm going to select all 4 of them in the back. So click one, hold down Shift, and get the other 2. And then I'm going to change that to a darker color. So 121, 97, and 29. All right, looks pretty good. So I'm going to click off with the arrow so I can see what I've done. I actually think I need to make those a little bit darker, so I'm going to select them again and use the slider here. That looks good. Okay, now I'm going to click on the side so it's deselected. The next step is to make the stem. So I actually have a template for you to trace. I'm going to go to File and not Open, but Place. In the P drive, in the Unit 2 folder, go ahead and find the stem.jpg and then click Place. Now I'm going to move this to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my Layers panel right here on the side and open up this little drop-down menu, and right here I can see the stem and it says Linked File. What I want to do is click right here in this box and we'll put a padlock on it so I won't keep accidentally selecting this as I work with it. Okay, in this case I want a certain color again, so I'm going to click this little palette and I'm going to put in my selected values, so 171, 145, and 40. Whoops, sorry, 187, I was looking at the wrong numbers, and 64. There we go, that's better. Okay, so I'm actually going to flip it temporarily down here. If I click this double-headed arrow, then I will have a outline of green and no fill. So get the pen tool, everybody's favorite tool, and I'm going to start right here and click and drag down. You can see how I'm following the curve of the stem. Then I'm going to go down here and click and drag to the left. Then I'm going to go over here and click and drag to the right. I'll do another one right here. Click and drag slightly around this side. Click and drag. Click and drag. And right here, I'm going to hold down Alt to make this bend around the corner, and then click and drag on the first anchor point there. Hold down Alt, grab this little handle out here, and swoosh it back. Alright, so now I'm going to get the black arrow and draw a box around this to select it, and let's see what I have here. There we go. So I need to fill this in, so I'm just going to go back here and go ahead and click this double arrow. Now I have a green stem with no outline. Now that might take a little bit of practice, but that's okay. And feel free to call me over so that I can help you too, if you need to. Alright, so I'm going to place the stem using the selection tool on top of the pumpkin, and then on the keyboard I'm going to hold down Control and use the bracket next to the P key, and I'm going to hit it, bracket, 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 and you can see that that's the keyboard shortcut to send it behind. So I'm going to keep hitting Control bracket until the stem is buried inside the top of the pumpkin. Now the final touch is to add some little spirals on there to be the vines. So let's see, again, I want the stroke, the outline, to be the color, so I'm going to flip it. Where is the spiral tool? Is it here with the line? Yeah, so the spiral is grouped with the line right here. So I'm just going to click and drag, and it's really skinny, so I'm going to go ahead and change it, let's say 5. That looks pretty good. Now it's not really tilted the right way, so I'm going to right click, go to Transform and Reflect. Looks good. I'll click OK, and with the selection tool I'm going to click so that there's a box around it, hover the cursor on the corner, till I get the arrow, the bendy arrow. And then I'm going to rotate it, move it over here kind of close to the pumpkin. Now I want this to touch, so I'm going to get the white arrow and click on this little end piece here and drag it over. And then I'm just going to click off to the side. Looks pretty good. All right, let's get another spiral, this time smaller. And let me move to the selection tool. And I'll just put this little spiral up. Need to move it down a little bit. There we go. I'm going to put one more spiral on this side. Get the spiral tool, click and drag, hit right there, and selection tool, rotate it, move it a little closer, and I can smush it and drag it longer if I want to. Looks pretty good. All right. So the last thing that I'm going to do is add the face, and that is actually pretty easy. So again, with the ellipse tool selected, I want the eyes to be white, so I'll change this to white. I don't want a green line around them, so I'm going to change that to none. And over here, I'm going to hold down Shift and click and drag. The reason that I'm holding down Shift is to make a circle. There we go. Now I'm going to deselect that, so Control-Shift-A, and I'm going to change this to black, and I'm going to make a smaller circle. So hold down Shift, click and drag a smaller black circle. I'm going to use the arrow keys to position that where I think it looks good. Now Control-Shift-A to deselect that, change it back to white, and now I'm going to make a teeny tiny reflection. So hold down Shift, click and drag, Control-Shift-A to deselect. I think I want to move that guy a little bit over and a little bit up. Click off to the side. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to use the selection tool, the black arrow, to click the white, hold down Shift and get the black, and get the little tiny reflection. So with all of those selected, I'm going to right click, transform, reflect, and let's see, preview, yes, that's what I want to do, copy, and use the arrow keys to scoot it over to approximately the same area. That looks pretty good. Now the only thing that we need to do is create the mouth. So I want the mouth to be black. I'm going to get the ellipse tool, hold down Shift and drag out a circle, Control-Shift-A to deselect it, and I'm going to change it to just some random color, and draw another bigger circle, and use the black arrow to overlap those. So this leftover part is going to be the smile. So now I'm going to draw a box around both of these with the black arrow and find the Pathfinder panel. Sometimes the Pathfinder panel is over here, but sometimes you have to go find it under the window menu. And there it is, Pathfinder. So I'm going to use the second button over, which is called minus front. So what it's going to do is subtract the blue circle from the black circle. Now I can take this black circle and put the little smiley face right there on the pumpkin, and finished. So if I open up my layers panel, if I don't want to see the stem file anymore, I can go ahead and turn the eyeball off there. And there is my finished pumpkin. So you can use the snipping tool to make a snip of that and put it in your portfolio, and make sure that you save this to your W drive. Okay, and that's it for now.